tricks. There we have Owen in the foreground on the right, with Rob on the left in the foreground.
Yep, so Owen will be squaring off against Rob Dougherty, and Reed will be against Rudyak.
A lot of R's and D's in the farm match.
Yeah,
Rada Rudyak, Reed Duke.
Yeah.
So Darwin has a really interesting list here with 3 Titan Strength and like double Flame Speaker Adept, 3 Death Bellow Raider, really aggressive red-black deck. I don't think I've seen a ton of these around the room today. Most people have been pairing the red with either white or green, with white in sort of the humans aggro and green in sort of the dinosaurs archetype.
We've seen a couple Minotaur aggro decks today, as we see a Minotaur from Darwin. Yep. He's actually not running Minotaurs. He's just trying to kill people. He's playing almost mono red.
Yep. He's only got 4 black cards as he plays a turn 2 Death Bellow Raider, as you can see there on the left. Huey has returned Phalanx to be able to parry off that Death Bellow Raider. That's going to be one of the best plays he has, basically.
Play. Darwin doesn't actually have black mana yet, so unless he has some sort of aura or something to put on the Death Bellow Raider, Huey may just get a free card out of this.
He also doesn't have Titan Strength, which would be a good trade-off here.
Right. So
but he has to suicide it into that Phalanx.
That's a pretty good start there, and he makes Spear Point Oriad still not able to get through Return Phalanx.
Yep. Although combat tricks on the first striker are going to be much better, so he played a turn 2 Death Bellow Raider that was immediately parried off by the Phalanx. Huey is going to follow it up with a Traveler's Amulet and leave 2 mana open, so he's able to represent, I don't think he has any white spells, with his Temple of Silence. It's just in there for the Scry one.
Yeah, so what he's holding up here, by tapping the blue, he's representing Farika's Cure, as opposed to representing like a Null or some blue, or Voyage End or something like that.
Darwin is weighing his options here. He's still not having any black mana, although he does have 7 swamps and 10 mountains. He did not keep a hand with black mana and obviously has not found it yet. His hand looks like a Fanatic of Mogus.
I believe, okay, so I believe he has a Perforos' Emissary. He has a Rage of Perforos and a Titan Strength. I'm not sure on the 4th card.
It looks like it's the Minotaur Skullcleaver? Is that what that guy is? The haste guy?
He's not running those, actually.
Oh, is he not? It looked like a Minotaur to me.
All right.
So we're going to Traveler's Amulet for an island after Perforos' Emissary resolves as his 2nd enchantment creature.
All right. So that's at least one way where he's going to be able to get by Return Phalanx, unless Huey has another blocker or removal spell. So, I mean, this game is really playing into Huey's hand so far. It's turn 4, and they're both still at 20.
Yeah, absolutely. Huey was able to just play and use Traveler's Amulet for his turn 3. That Phalanx is doing a ton of work here, as we see him play a Coastline Chimera. Yeah. Or do you prefer Chimera or Chimera? I've heard both.
It's Chimera.
It's Chimera.
Yes.
This one's the traditional Chimera of Legend with the 3 heads.
Yep.
As opposed to the Magic definition of Chimera, which is any old animals stapled together these days. But this one has the lion head, the goat head, and the snake head. He is unable to activate the white ability, except when he has Temple of Silence in place. That's the one white thing that he can do in his deck.
I've been seeing a lot of people today just play it as the 1/5, just as a flying wall. And it's actually been pretty effective that way.
Yeah. 5 toughness is exactly what Huey's deck wants to be doing.
Yeah, this plays really nicely around the Titan Strength that's in Huey's hand. If he wants to swing through, he'd have to Rage of Perforos on the Return Phalanx. I don't even believe he has the 5th mana to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he has the 5th land. His hand, currently, still the Titan Strength is probably the strongest card that he has because he has the 1st striker. And that Spear Point Oriad is going to come into the red zone.
So he's willing to trade Titan Strength with whatever creature Huey offers.
Yep, and he chooses not to. And there is the 5th land. Drew a swamp for the turn, the perfect land.
Yeah, a little in the swamp. Wasn't there early enough to save his Death Bellow Raider, but he does have it now. And he'll go ahead and play Borderland Minotaur.
Ah, that was the Minotaur.
Yes, so it was a Minotaur. You're absolutely right. It's not
it was
the
just
2/2 haste
the wrong Minotaur.
Yeah, interestingly, he's not playing the 2/2 haste Minotaurs, or the 4/2 haste. He's playing just the vanilla 4/3s instead. I think he just wants to have something that can crash past the 2/2.
So Darwin's able to untap. Huey is representing any number of tricks with his 5 mana up, as Rage of Perforos is going to try and take down the Return Phalanx, and indeed does.
Yeah.
Another Titan Strength on top.
Yep, so a big kill spell. It's probable that Huey's just representing something like a Lash of the Whip. You know, just some sort of kill spell. If you look through his deck here, the basic plan of the deck is he has a lot of removal. He has, you know, Hero's Downfall, Lash of the Whip. He has some mnemonic walls to get them back, and a Sip of Hemlock, and then eventually he just starts casting things like Read the Bones and just outvaluing.
Yeah. He's also got He's got the Hero's Downfall to be able to take out literally anything, including opposing Planeswalkers, which this is a team sealed event, which means that teams opened 12 packs. You're going to be facing those big mythics.
Yeah, Planeswalkers, I mean, every Planeswalker that's opened will probably be run.
Yeah. So the Chimera is going to stand in front of the 4/3. Lash of the Whip will take down Perforos' Emissary, and Spearpoint Oread is going to come in for 2 more damage, taking Huey down to 16. That's going to be it for Darwin, and Huey is going to be able to take his turn with a mess of cards in his hand.
Yeah, it's looking really good for Jensen. He also just drew Triad of Fates right now, which is
one of the bombs in his deck.
It's one of the bombs deck. It's a very interesting card. Kind of trying to get it up for you. It's a 3/3 for 4. It puts fate counters on permanents, and then if it puts it on your own guy, you can basically flicker the guy. Or you put it on your opponent's guy, you can kill it, but then they draw 2 cards.
Or if you want to put it on your own guy, you can also draw 2 cards.
And draw 2 cards.
Yeah. So Triad of Fates, able to be cast off the Temple of Silence. Huey has 2 Traveler's Amulets, a Plains, and a Temple of Silence to be able to play that white spell.
And once again, he is representing Pharika's Cure. I believe it actually is in his hand. I don't think he's just next leveling.
Yeah.
This would be very early in a format to try to next level like that. Your opponent might not even read that there is that's the card you're trying to show.
Yeah. So we have another Rage of Perforos in Darwin Castle's hand that he's debating whether or not to play. Instead, he's just going to come in with the attacks first.
And we see a pair of blocks. Because of Pharika's Cure, I think he's pretty okay playing in this. This is dangerous.
Now, we're going to have a second
one.
Titan Strength. So, unfortunately, that Pharika's Cure is only going to deal 2.
You know, yeah, he gains. I guess that's probably pretty good for Darwin.
Yeah, it trades off the Pharika's Cure and the Triad of Fates
with
2 Titan Strengths. That's pretty much where Darwin would like to be at this point, although it does just give Huey more time, as opposed to playing the Rage of Perforos pre-combat.
It's still trading cards 1 for 1, which is good for Huey.
Yep.
But yeah, I think in the end this is good for Darwin. He still isn't having trouble getting damage across.
Yeah. In the end, this Triad of Fates wasn't really going to be blinking anything. It probably wasn't going to be drawing a ton of cards real soon.
Right.
So it was just a 3/3 for 4 right now.
Exactly.
And so trading off the Titan Strength as if it were a lightning bolt to kill the 3/3, trading off of Pharika's Cure for a pump spell. This is not that bad for Huey. He's down on mana a little bit, but Darwin's not going to be able to take advantage of that mana.
This is a very good spot for him to be.
So Darwin's deciding whether or not to scry the card to the bottom of his deck. Can't really see what he's got going on top.
He scryed his first one to the bottom. This is his second Titan Strength we're resolving.
Yes. So he's decided to keep that one. The Chimera will bounce off of the Minotaur, and Darwin has no follow-up play, no 3-drop. So Huey's going to be able to untap with 6 mana, and Psychic Incursion, right?
Psychic Intrusion. We saw him play this to a pretty good effect game 1. So the card allows you to take it. So you take a card out of your opponent's hand, and then you get to be the one who casts it.
And that's going to take the Rage of Perforos out of Darwin's hand.
Yeah, and you can cast it regardless of color.
But he is going to have to cast it. It's not cast for free like Spelljack.
Yes.
So that's going to be sitting out in the Spelljack zone, basically.
He could pick a card from Darwin's graveyard if he preferred. He's choosing not to, though. He did take Rage of Perforos.
Right. There is Psychic Intrusion, one of the few blue-black gold cards in the set.
I believe this and Shipwreck Singer are the
only 2. Pretty sure you're correct there. Just doing a quick...
and the Planeswalker, and Ashiok.
Oh, sure, and Ashiok. There are 3. Yeah, it looks like there's probably 3 of each combination. Psychic Intrusion there on the left. Take your time reading that one. It's a little bit complicated. So Darwin's last spell was stripped out of his hand. He is now living off the top of his deck. And still swinging in. Huey still in a very good position, going to remain near double digits, even though he wasn't really able to block profitably anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the longer this game goes on, the fact that Huey basically exhausted Darwin's hand and is still at 16 life really bodes well for him.
Yeah. And the Rage is going to take down the 4-3, as we learned that Rob Dougherty has taken game 1 against Owen Turtenwald. Rob is, of course, playing the based green deck that has a light white and black splash for a couple of cards.
And Owen's on a blue-white heroic deck, so a pretty good matchup, I would say, there for Dougherty.
Yeah, he's able to go just slightly bigger, as as the old school Doran versus Zoo matchup would be good for Doran. So is this, just being slightly bigger than Owen's cards.
Right, so Titan Strength number 3 cast by Darwin. It takes down the Coastline Chimera, and he opted to keep a Deathbellow Raider on the top of the deck.
Yeah, he's just got to keep the pressure up. As a Blood Toll Harpy comes down and takes the toll from both players. Huey draws and points to his card emphatically. I didn't catch what he was pointing to, though.
Not sure. It's a little off.
Looks like
he has Thassa's Bounty.
Thassa's Bounty, just to draw 3. It's the 6-mana draw 3 in this set. And he's going to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, draw 3. He mills a player for 3. He's going to go ahead and, I think, he mills that card
mills
off the top.
the scryed card. I see.
So he gets 2 Deathbellow Raiders and another card in between. Draws 3. He's going to take a little bit of damage this turn, so down to 11. He's got a lot of gas to go work with, though.
But he's well okay with that trade, taking 4 damage this turn to be able to draw 3 more cards. This sealed format, if you have the elimination spells like Huey does, you're able to afford to play slow card draw like Thassa's Bounty, which we see there on the left. So Huey is going to fall to 11 here, I believe. Looks like there's a life total discrepancy, probably from the Blood Toll Harpy.
Yeah. And so by milling for 3, he actually milled Darwin off the Deathbellow Raider into just a mountain. So, and especially with the kind of deck Darwin's deck is, at least before board, it's a really low-end aggro deck. It turned out to be a very strong move. Pretty much denied him a card draw.
Yep.
And now the heavy hitters come out, starting with Mnemonic Wall. He's going to go ahead and get back Pharika's Cure.
Yep, and that's going to be able to take out either creature, should he so choose. Another land comes off the top of Darwin's library. I don't think Huey's going to probably play around the 4th Titan Strength, so this Pharika's Cure is going to be pretty good.
Well, this actually does play around it. I mean, can't.
There's Pharika's Cure, going to gain Huey some more life, and also block the Spear Point Oread. And without any gas left in the tank for Darwin, it looks like Huey is well in position to be able to try and take this one home, should he find a win condition relatively soon.
As we saw round 1, his eventual win condition is a bunch of chimeras, pretty much.
Like that one right there,
right.
The Prescient Chimera.
Yeah, just a common 3/4. It's a pretty aggressively costed card, though.
Yeah, 3/4 flying for 5.
Yeah, with upside.
With upside, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1.
Yeah.
4 toughness is very relevant in this set, as all of the emissaries are 3/3s, like Thassa's Emissary, for example.
Yeah, and that will turn into a 6/7 flyer that draws a card when it hits. We saw another Pharika's Cure drawn from Huey. This game should be his in short order.
Yeah, Darwin's drawing thin on outs at this point. Portent of Betrayal seems like the best card that he could try to get, but again, Huey's still at a comfortable 13 life, so I don't think that he's in too much trouble, even if the Portent comes through.
Well, Labyrinth Champion will be a start. Well, we would have hoped it would have been a start.
Would have been a start, had the Pharika's Cure not immediately come down, as Labyrinth Champion, the heroic gutter snipe, I guess.
Yeah.
Being able to take off creatures and players. Meanwhile, Prescient Chimera with the crab backpack going to work. And even more giant flyers. That's a Horizon Sphinx.
Yeah. Yeah, Horizon Scholar scries. He scries 2 to the bottom, and that's going to be a lethal swing in the air this turn. We did see the Portent of Betrayal
right there.
Unfortunately, that won't give him a blocker. Huey's all up to 15. We may just see Darwin decide not to use the card.
Yeah, just to not let Huey know that the card is in his deck, because he's not going to be able to play defense with it, and he's not going to be able to kill Huey this turn.
I can't think of any cards, so he would get a card draw off that Thassa's Emissary. I'm not sure if there's any cards that would help him if he were to draw them.
Nope.
And he's going to go ahead and do that. He's going to just not
going to take the chance and not show the information. So Huey takes game 1 against Darwin Kastle with his control deck. As we've said, this is the most successful control deck we've seen in this format thus far.
All right, so we're going to go over, it looks like, to the game 2 of Dougherty and Turtenwald.
All right. Rob Dougherty has the base green deck. He has triple Nylea's Presence to be able to fix his mana for the off-color cards that he's playing. For example, Chronicler of Heroes, Century of the Underworld, and Farika's Mender are his multicolored cards. They also help him activate his 2 Lagana Band Elders, as we see on turn 3. There's a Lagana Band Elder that has now picked up
a Feral Invocation.
Feral Invocation, of which Rob has 3. So that's a pretty aggressive card as well.
So we see here Nimbus Naiad with Hopeful Eidolon on it, so it's a 3/3 flying lifelink.
As we bring you the updated result of Rada taking game 1 against Reed. So Rudyak takes game 1 against Reed Duke.
So Dougherty, Kastle, and Rudyak now up. They get 2 of the first 3 games.
And Nimbus Naiad now enchanted with Nimbus Naiad.
I really like,
as well as Hopeful Eidolon.
Get some recursion going on there.
That's right.
Now a 5 mana flying lifelink. So
that's going to be a tough thing to race, especially for Rob's deck, who most of his elimination is either fight based with time to feed, or well, I guess it's just time to feed, or hoping that in combat something happens with his Bow of Nylea or attacking or blocking.
He does have in hand 2 time to feeds along with another Feral Invocation. So if he can survive long enough, he actually will be able to eat this Nimbus Naiad.
Yes. So with the other Feral Invocation, the Lagana Band Elder will grow up to become a 7/6. The opposing Nimbus Naiad is the other Voltron on the board. This is the most auras I've seen in any limited format.
There are currently 6 enchantments on the battlefield.
There are.
It's a lot.
And so this Naiad is going to be able to untap, and we'll see if it's able to get any bigger, because if it's not, Rob may be able to fight it.
It'll be time to feed on it.
But a bounce is going to take care of that.
Like game ending here.
Yeah,
that's so good.
With no other creature on the battlefield, those Feral Invocations are not creatures in addition to enchantments.
Unsummon is good against when someone puts all their auras on one guy.
No, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So now we've got Heliod's Emissary, the 3/3 Emissary in white, which whenever it attacks, it's able to tap down an opposing creature. With Rob on relatively low amounts of mana, even though he has all of his colors. He only has 4 lands in play, so he's only going to be able to play 1 creature.
Right, so he still has the Lagana Band Elder, so he's going to buy himself some time. The hard part is that guy can't block, and he's facing down 8 power right now. And he'll be really hard pressed to find a way to remove the Nimbus Naiad before he's dead.
Yep, so Owen's going into tempo mode, trying to get Rob dead as quickly as possible, and he's well in the driver's seat of this game, now with Fabled Hero in play.
All right, so finally the land hits for Rob. It's going to be too little, too late, and Owen Turtenwald grabs game 2.
That's right. So Owen Turtenwald is going to tie it up against Rob Dougherty. So right now we're at 2 games apiece per team, spread across the 3 matches. Rob and Owen are tied 1-1. Huey is up a game against Darwin Kastle in the B seat, and Rudyak is up 1 game against Reed Duke. So it looks like we got everybody in between games right now. Let's take a quick look at Reed and Rada's matchup. Rada has a blue-white deck that appears fairly aggressive.
It's just a blue-white deck. It's mostly full of good cards. It has a slight heroic theme to it, but it's just a cards deck. Really just a good stuff deck.
Double Dauntless Onslaught, double Battle-Wise Valor, and a Heliod among the white cards, which are quite aggressive for the white cards. You don't have anything like Vanquish the Foul, which she has access to, but she's not playing.
Right, so it's not playing too many removal spells. It's still creature-based. She's running the Curse of the Swine, I believe, is one of her possible removal spells.
Yep, Curse of the Swine, too good not to run. It's able to exile gods and things like that.
It's able, and just there's so many between gods and monstrous creatures. There's a lot of really good targets for it. On Reed's end, he is playing just a green ramp deck.
Yeah, he's playing dinosaurs. I've been watching him.
3 Voyaging Satyrs, a Karametra's Acolyte, and then he's running with that anything, 2 Vulpine Goliaths.
Whatever giant animals he can put into play. Ill-Tempered Cyclops.
Exactly.
So his plan is to put out an early Voyaging Satyr, of which he has 3, and try and ramp into his big game-ending creatures like Nessie and Asp, and just keep throwing creatures at the problem until the game ends. Looks like he's going to be on the mulligan, however.
Well, that means that some slack will have to be picked up by both Owen and Huey.
That's right. As we see all the players shuffling up, this is quite the Titanic matchup. I saw this one when the pairings came out and was like, this is the one we have to cover. When you get the opportunity to have 3 Hall of Famers on camera, you just have to take it. As we have game 2 underway between Reed and Rada. Yeah. Reed kept his 6. It looks like he doesn't have any green mana.
Yeah, remember, Rada's pretty aggressive, so Reed's going to have to get a move on.
Yep. Let's see which 2-drop she decides to go with. She goes with Vaporkin.
It's over Omen Speaker, which I like. I don't believe she has the 3rd land, but I think it's more important right now, especially against an opponent who hasn't shown you that he can play anything yet, to just start getting an attack route. It's really possible this Vaporkin could deal 8 damage or more.
Yeah, Reed does not have the Spark Jolt in his deck right now. I mean, he has 2 in his pool. He could have sided them in. It depends on how many Vaporkins and 1/1s he saw in the first game, of which Rada has a lot. Well, so
what I think is important is that actually Reed is not a base red deck.
Yes.
And Rada
finds 2 lands, so she's going to probably keep both of those with her hand chock full of spells. With this Omen Speaker that has resolved. So she's only going to keep 1 of the lands.
Yep, she keeps 1. That's fair. I think so. That would suggest she really wants to operate Landlight. She will eventually, over the course of the game, draw more lands. It's possible she really only wants to have 4 in play if the 5th one doesn't do anything.
And Reed was unable to find the green mana, and so he will take 3 more damage as Rada is able to land. Looks like Artisan of Forms is going to come down. That's the heroic clone.
Yeah, things are starting to get a little dicey. There's not that big creature on the table yet for it to copy. So that much is fortunate for Reed. But
and it's even more dangerous for Reed to even try to start playing the big creatures now, because they can just get copied and then perhaps bounced later on, as we see Ill-Tempered Cyclops enter the battle area.
Alright, so draw Nimbus Naiads for Rada.
Yep, with only 3 lands in play, that's going to be a Windrake, but with the pressure that she's applying, it's likely going to be good enough. She has a 2-power flyer that's been able to attack for several turns already.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Rada right now, you really just, I think, want to play an aggressive game. Right now, you kind of need to challenge. So, you need to challenge Reed to show up to the match. A lot of times in Magic, one deck really doesn't show up. It doesn't draw color. It doesn't draw lands. Reed's deck really has, I would say, yet to show up.
So she decides to attack with the Artisan of Forms. Reed decides to not block it.
That's pretty good. Had he blocked it, it would have been Battle-Wise Valored into an Ill-Tempered Cyclops, been a 5/5 trample.
Yep. And Reed still with only 4 mountains in his game.
I'm not sure Reed has many more chances to show up to this game.
Yeah.
He's digging himself. He's digging himself quite a hole here.
Yeah, unfortunately, he had to mulligan to 6, had to keep a hand that was landlight and mana deficient, and he is likely going to be unable to recover, although we will see what Rada does. But with 2 Battle-Wise Valors, Reed is desperately close to death here.
Yeah, I believe Rada also has a Voyage's End in hand, so she can just, she could just Voyage End the Cyclops and swing for the fences here.
So the trio of creatures are coming in. This time, the Cyclops is going to block. It gets Battle-Wise Valor copied, so it finds a bigger Cyclops in the combat zone.
So it's now a 5/5.
Titan's Strength is going to try to trade with it, but Voyage's End is going to put an end to that.
And remember, Ill-Tempered Cyclops does have Trample, so this is a blowout all the more.
Yeah, so that now 5/5 Ill-Tempered Cyclops is going to come through.
The question, I think, would be, does Artisan Forms target? Did the Artisan become an Ill-Tempered Cyclops at any point? Or it depends when the Titanic Strength was played.
Right. Probably. I think it does target. Yes.
Okay, so, well, it looks like he let Rada scry 1 before he Titaned Strength, so that means the first Valor did resolve, but otherwise the Artisan Forms would actually still be a 1/1.
Right. Yeah, we will find out for you what that Artisan of Forms currently is, whether it's a Cyclops or a human wizard now.
I believe she scryed 1 before the Titanic Strength was cast, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right.
Yeah, that means it did happen.
Reed trying to figure out the best way to dig out of this.
Okay,
we have a judge ruling.
I think that's what
happening.
That's got to be what they're ruling on. I mean, if she just went straight for a scry and didn't give her opponent a chance to respond, then it's possible that the judge will, okay, it's still a 1/1.
So it looks like we have a ruling.
All right, and it doesn't really matter. Reed doesn't draw anything.
Yep.
And so the ruling is that 2-0, Rada's going to take down Reed Duke.
Yep. So it looks like Rada is going to put Team Dougherty, Kastle, Rudyak up 1-0, as Owen quickly ran off to ask a judge a question. We're going to cut back to the B match between Hall of Famer Darwin Kastle and Hall of Famer William Huey Jensen.
Hall of Fame elect.
Hall of Fame elect. Technically not inducted yet. That induction happens in just 2 weeks at Pro Tour Theros. So we're going to cut in on the middle of the action here. Looks like we're in Darwin's attack step. He has Erebos' Emissary, Felhide Boar, and a recently killed off creature that died to a Horizon Sphinx, or Horizon Scholar. Disciple of Fenax also in play on William Huey Jensen's
You think
side
a
of the board.
scholar would be a human, but the scholar's a sphinx.
Well, he's a scholar of the Horizon. Just because he's big doesn't mean he doesn't want to learn.
So how sentient are sphinxes? Are they? Could they talk to me?
Yes. They're very sentient.
We could have a conversation.
They're actually too intelligent for humans.
So they could talk to me, but they choose not to.
Right. When they do,
jerks.
they speak in what we conceive to be riddles because they're on such a higher level than we are.
Wait, that's sphinxes.
That's
Right?
sphinxes.
Oh, no, that's Horizon Sphinx, not a chimera. I thought it was a chimera.
Oh, no. Chimeras are not sentient at all.
Okay.
They're beasts.
So Horizon Scholar is a sphinx,
He's a sphinx, not a chimera.
Right. Okay. That's why they speak in riddles, is because they're talking down to us.
Yes. So Darwin, getting back to the game, has Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which might be the defining card thus far in the day.
Yeah, we haven't seen a dedicated Grey Merchant deck lose yet. This is an interesting sideboard. I think Darwin, he boarded. Last time we saw him play, he was playing a red-green aggro mirror. He boarded into this deck, which is mostly black. I think it's possible that he has been boarding into this deck every round.
Sure.
Perhaps he just realized it was the better deck. He gets to play cards like Grey Merchant. He has 3 Farika's Cures. I don't know if he'd be running those against Huey. I'm not sure they have anything that they kill.
Right. In any case, Darwin deciding that no matter what happens, he has to start attacking.
An interesting card in Darwin's hand is Boon of Erebos.
Yeah.
Not a strong card, but actually probably pretty good in this matchup.
I really like Boon of Erebos, actually. I was playing it at the pre-release, as you see it on the screen there. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Regenerate it, you lose 2 life. And the most important factor is a 1 mana
cost.
instant, able to trigger Heroic, Combat Trick. Very, very good
it's
card.
interesting, so black's not typically think of as the heroic color, but it does have a few heroic cards, and this is a great enabler for it.
Yeah. As you see, Huey is blocked in such a way that Boon of Erebos is going to be great no matter where it gets played.
Yeah, it'll be good in any of these situations.
So it's going to target the Erebos' Emissary.
Yeah, Darwin does not care about the 2 life in this situation at all. And manages to continue putting pressure.
That's right. So Huey's going to fall to 8, it looks like. Farika's Cure is going to finish off that Fellhide Boar. Well, it looks like he fell to 5. This will push him back up to 7, thanks to the life gain from the elimination spell. Huey only with 2 lands in his hand currently.
Yeah, so normally this late game is where Huey's deck shines. It's a little difficult.
I lied.
For him
There's a
right now.
mnemonic wall. Looked like an island. That's going to get back to
Kinda
Farika's
sneaky.
Cure.
It's actually the only wall in the set, I believe.
It is.
Which does matter. There's an equipment that cares about that.
That's
The
right. Prowler's helmet. So 4 mana from Darwin Kastle is going to be
Go ahead.
So, I see. It was Disciple of Fenax hit the board, and I missed it. And in response, Farika's Cure is going to target the Erebos' Emissary before combat and then
stops it
snag
from
the
attacking.
island. Right. So nobody's going to come into the red zone.
Even so, a difficult board situation for Huey because his next turn, the 2 emissaries will be able to once again attack.
Yep. Sip of Hemlock going to take down Perforos' Emissary. Darwin's going to fall to 16 from the kill spell. Sip of Hemlock is this set's big, expensive sorcery common. Destroy a target creature, period.
The giant 6 mana kill something.
Yeah. The Gloomlance of the set.
Yeah,
or
it's really true that every set has started.
the Liturgy of Blood, or whatever.
Liturgy of Blood, Gloomlance. It's like, oh yeah, the one that if you pay a lot, you can just kill it.
Assassin Strike. Destroy target creature, period.
They just
also something else, but
some upside.
So there's Sip of Hemlock, real flavorful card. Harkens back to the story of Socrates, of course, as Erebos' Emissary enters the red zone. And
he's going to go ahead and discard it
to be able to knock off the wall. And Grey Merchant of Asphodel comes into play.
Normally you don't discard a 4-drop. So that's the reason being, I think, is that he just feels like his mana's tied up and he wants to try to commit cards as fast as possible. He's okay trading that for the wall, even though it's card disadvantage, just because of the speed with which it progresses his game plan.
Huey plays Psychic Intrusion.
And he
finds an island, but he can choose something in Darwin's graveyard. He only has the 2 mana available, so he wants to be able to choose something for 2 mana.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lightning strike in there or anything. Like, the game's progressed for a while. I don't believe there is.
Weighing his options, I don't see a ton.
In a sense, it's kind of like a really expensive Snapcaster Mage for your opponent's graveyard.
Sure.
That's kind of what I like to think about what's going on here.
And he is still facing down a lot of power, as the Grey Merchant was able to dome Huey for 5, pushing him all the way down to 4.
On top of that, he's going to have to chump block the Perforos' or the Erebos' Emissary.
Yeah. Because anything Darwin draws is automatically +2/+2 to that particular Emissary.
It actually just has to be a creature. You can only discard
it can only discard creatures,
yeah,
really?
It's okay. The first time I played with the 2, I thought it was cards. I was like, this card's insane! And then
Let's pop that one up on the screen again, because I'm not sure I read that one correctly.
No, I did it too, and then my phone was like, wait. Later figured out it could only be creatures. It's okay, the card's still really good.
Still very good.
But you can't just play it, and then next turn pitch your hand and deal 15.
Right.
That's no longer an option.
So it looks like Huey's going to fall all the way down to 1 here. He chose Perforos' Emissary as his card. It is a blocker, but not going to be good enough, as 3 creatures to the top deck land isn't going to do it. So 1/1, Darwin Kastle, Huey Jensen. I'm sure they've played a few times before.
Yeah, so it's going to come down to these last 2 games, and Owen and Huey are going to need both of them.
Yes.
So we'll start, I suppose, with the one between Rob and Owen.
Yep. And it looks like Owen has a Vaporkin. They're moving very fast.
Voyaging Satyr and I believe Leaf Crown Elder on Rob's side.
Yep, the Leaf Crown Elder able to stand in front of that Vaporkin.
It looks like it's favored. Depends how low Owen's able to get Rob. The game going this late and being this stable really favors Rob.
Yeah, and Owen's all the way at 5 already. Looks like thanks to a Boon Satyr.
Oh wow, Boon Satyr, very powerful.
Yeah, Boon Satyr is one of the more hyped cards in the set. Possibly the best bestow card.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best bestow card. Celestial Archon's also very good, but yeah, Boon Satyr, just because it's so aggressively costed.
Yeah. So Rob found a black mana right on top of his library. He's going to be able to use that to cast Lash Out or any other spell in his hand, but previous to this turn he wasn't able to cast Lash Out. So he's going to swing in.
Whip of the Lash.
Lash of the Whip.
Lash of
Sorry,
the Whip.
not Lash Out.
Lash Out, yeah. I was like, we're going back to Lorwyn.
Lorwyn block. Same effect. It's going to kill something.
All right.
And there's the Fox. That's going to get ended.
Voyage. It seems
Vulpine Goliath getting voyages ended. There's Vulpine Goliath.
Very large fox.
Yes.
Look at it compared to those trees. It's as big as the tree. It's a Goliath of a fox.
Well, with a diet of hydras, giants, and massive serpents, anything would get that big.
Oh man, he's eating giants. That's a huge fox.
That is a big deal. So here we have.
All right, a way for Owen to maybe stay alive. It's a hopeful Eidolon.
Gaining a little bit of life, getting a little bit bigger on that Vaporkin. Unfortunately, Shredding Winds comes off the top of
huge.
Rob's deck, and that's going to be able to take down that Vaporkin before it's going to gain Owen any life.
He's probably going to attack first so that the Eidolon can't block this turn. He does it on Owen's turn.
Yes.
That'll be preferred.
Probably do it during Owen's attack step, or in response to another bestow creature. Voyaging Satyr and Leaf Crowned Elder entering the red zone, dropping Owen back down to 3, I think, if life totals are correct.
Yeah.
Rob is only at 8. It's not a super comfortable life total.
Yeah, but Owen, especially with the Shredding Wind, I don't think he has too much to fear from Owen. He has that kill spell for the one creature there.
Yep. And he's also got Leaf Crown Dryad,
Yeah, so it's a second blocker, a lethal attack, well, almost lethal, a pretty strong attack at the very end.
Yes.
So we were saying earlier, Leaf Crown Dryad, I think, is one of those unassuming cards that's actually very strong in green. It's not because it's good at every point in the game.
Yes.
There's very few cards you can say that about.
It's also a common that pumps power very high with Bestow. The 2 power for 4 mana is pretty much the cheapest of the common creatures.
Of all the common bestowers, they cost 4, 5, or 6 to bestow. It's on the aggressive end of it, too.
It's on the very aggressive.
That's the thing, it's kind of good at every point in the game.
Yeah.
You're never unhappy to draw Leaf Crown Dryad.
So Rob is deciding that he's going to cast Shredding Winds. Not targeting the Vaporkin, but affecting the Great Vaporkin nonetheless.
It would target it, right?
I think that it's all. Oh, it is target. You're right. I'm a liar.
It's just a common. It's not a windstorm.
Fair.
Yet. I know with
7
a plural,
damage
with
is
a
a whole
plural
lot.
winds, you'd think it would be it'd be a kill everything.
Yep. So the Hopeful Eidolon comes in, and 100-Handed One joins it.
Okay,
Rob's going to take a read on 100-Handed One, and I think so will I.
I'm really excited because I think this might be the game. Wait, does he have... Oh, he's going to kill it. I was saying this is going to be the game where we're going to see the 100-handed block be really relevant.
The 100-handed block.
The fact that it could block 100 things is going to be really relevant.
Would be pretty great.
Except that Rob's just going to kill it.
Probably.
He's probably just going to take a Lash of the Whip to it. I really want to see him block, be like, Owen would be like, swing. And I'd be like, oh, I can't block. Swing back. He's going to block all my guys.
Yep.
All right.
Unfortunately, that dream will not be lived this game.
Not this
100-handed one is one of the just cooler, flavorful cards
It's
ever
very
made.
flavorful.
It's also very costed for constructed, I feel.
It is one of the most aggressively costed monstrosity cards. I really have been impressed with the card, actually.
Yeah.
Its biggest requirement is the fact that it's double white into triple white. You know, you have to like planes in order to play this card.
Absolutely, but if you do, it's a 6/8 creature with reach that can block 99 creatures. It's basically LeBron James.
It can block everything.
It's 6'8" and can block everything.
I like to think about it, it's all about high fives.
Sure.
Once it gets big, it gives high fives to everyone.
Yeah, all the high fives.
And so we see Destructive Revelry as well.
And double Nylea's Presence is Rob's hand, is what it looks like to me.
The Revelry, the interesting thing, he can play Nylea's Presence into Revelry to basically act as a 2-point burn spell for the Eidolon. That'll put Owen to 1.
Yeah.
I don't see what stops him from just making that play and then turning the team sideways. It seems... I don't think there's a blue combat. So the one blue, what you have is you have Lost in a Labyrinth.
You have Lost in a Labyrinth. There's also a null, technically.
Okay, so if a null here, you lose that. But I think if you just Revelry the Eidolon and swing, a null's the only thing you lose.
I don't think that Nylea's Presence would get annulled here, is the other thing.
I mean,
There's also Swan Song, technically.
Owen would have to be psychic to know that he had to annul that to not die. And that's what we're going to see. Revelry on the Eidolon drops Owen to 1. Yeah, and now not even Lost in a Labyrinth. The card which there's no way you're playing will save you now.
Yep. And that is going to be the match. So, Rob Dougherty emerges victorious over Owen Turtenwald.
Turns out 2 Hall of Famers is better than 1.
Yeah.
Even if you have
two possible future Hall of Famers on your
world,
team.
a world champion and a world championship runner-up.
That's right.
On your team, that's not enough.
So we're not going to have a repeat of New Jersey. It looks like
probably not. We did mention that there was only one undefeated team entering this round. It's possible that an X2 makes it. It would have to be an X2 with good breakers, but because this team did pick up their second loss in round 7, I would say they have an outside chance of cracking into top 4.
Sure, their breakers would have to be stellar. The teams that they were playing against would have to be quite good, as we're going to cut over to our last remaining match with Huey and Darwin. With 6 lands in play and 18 life, my hunch is that this one's going Huey's way.
So I would normally agree with you. That's how I'd presented the matchup too. When Darwin was playing the all-red deck, I agreed with you. But now he's switched to all-black deck. We saw last game, Darwin was able to out-muscle Huey in the late game.
That's true.
I'm not sure, looking at the board and how this is playing, that he might just do it again.
Yeah.
We have seen actually today the grindy decks, the control decks, are blue and so normally think in limited that blue is the go late color, right? If it's turn 12 and I'm playing islands and you're not, you better watch out.
Sure.
I'm almost starting to think that swamps are the color that do that in this format.
Yeah, because you've got such great control cards like Disciple of Phenax and Grey Merchant of Asphodel, able to finish off games too.
Everyone has Enter the Battlefield abilities, and you have all these, even things like March of the Returned, Rescue from the Underworld. It's just so easy to generate card advantage with black that I'm not sure that blue actually can keep up. Blue has to play cards like Thassa's Bounty that I'm not as thrilled with.
Right, and black has Read the Bones, which is the premier common card draw spell, as we see Huey cast Read the Bones here.
Was it blue has Fate Foretold?
Yeah.
That's not
Fate Foretold's not going to get it done.
I mean, it can draw 2 cards. I'm not saying it can't, but it's no Read the Bones.
Right. Huey's going to get one of his lands off that Read the Bones after putting 2 on the bottom, as well as drawing Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Yeah, and many of the uncommons in black, particularly, I think, Mogus's Marauder and Rescue from the Underworld are just great game-ending, mid-game to late-game
Mogus's Marauder
cards.
is a card that I played it once, and we've seen it once here, and both times the devotion was only 1 for it, so it gave itself Intimidate, smacked for 2. I am really excited to see that card just break open a board stall.
Yeah. As we see, Perforos's Emissary is going to get suited up on the Borderland Minotaur. That is a big buddy. That's a 7/6 that can't be blocked
Just
very
watching this,
easily.
even if Coastline Chimera activates, it still cannot block, can it?
It would have to be blocked by 2 creatures.
Okay, so even if Chimera can block an additional creature, that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter how many hands you have.
100-handed one.
100-handed one cannot
this
block
guy.
this guy
Not
by
by
himself.
Even with all those hands.
Even with all those hands, you need
All right.
more heads, basically.
So if he was 100-headed one.
Maybe. I don't think that works either. Unfortunately,
2-headed giant.
I think we
or
just
like
need
could a
2
Cerberus
giants.
block it? Cerberus,
Right. I think we just need a giant, like an extra person
Okay.
to help block it. So 100-handed one could block it if there were like a scorpion next to him,
Okay.
for example.
That flavorfully makes sense.
Sometimes it breaks down.
The flavor judges are coming out. I don't know how they feel about
That's right. So this 7/6 that can't. It's an enormous creature, and it's not easily blocked. Huey's deck does not have a ton of great ways to deal with it either.
It would need a Death Toucher, so something dorky like Baleful Eidolon. I've talked about how I think Sedge Scorpion is really good in this format, and I'm wondering whether or not Baleful Eidolon is the same thing.
I think it is, because Baleful Eidolon also works later in the game, especially when you put it on something like Spearpoint Oriad.
Kind of. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I guess you have First Strikers, then it's real. I mean, I don't even really like. I mean, it's not a great card, but
it does the job, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
a lot of Black's elimination is
man.
minus based, like Lash of the Whip.
Oh man, emissaries everywhere.
So many emissaries on this Borderland Minotaur.
All right.
There's Erebos' Emissary. It is discard a creature card, so that's going to be a 10/9 Borderland Minotaur that has an activated ability of discard a creature card. It gets an additional +2/+2, and
It has to be double blocked.
it has to be double blocked.
So we might see a double chump block from Huey. So when you think about what he's drawing to, he does play 1 Sip of Hemlock, which he can draw to. Outside of that, he has a Hero's Downfall. Looks like he took all that damage though.
So he would fall to 1.
He's at 3 right
He's at 3.
now.
Okay.
And it's so interesting how this black deck that Darwin is boarding into seems to be able just to go toe to toe with Huey's control deck.
This is probably a symptom of just deck building time on the part of this team, where they found this red deck and wanted to pair it with something, but didn't really pay as much attention to their black deck as they probably should have. And then they're sideboarding into it every time.
So speaking of Sip of Hemlock, one was cast, but on the other side of the board.
Taking out returned Phalanx, that's right. So
This looks like this could be a lethal attack. I think it's not going to be because Huey has a Freaka's Cure, but he's going to lose his entire board.
yeah.
Enter double chump block. Ugh,
That's right.
That Borderland Minotaur.
That's a rough card to have to face down, man. So this Coastline Chimera is going to be able to block the other 2 creatures.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Grey Merchant is going to... Okay, so Grey Merchant will block Fellhide Minotaur. Coastline Chimera will block the other 2 creatures, and Disciple of Phoenix will
Jump in and
be
help.
the second half of the chump block.
And I think we're going to see a card draw in the scoop from Huey. I don't really know what he has to draw to. He goes to 3. That's good. It's a start.
So he's going to need Hero's Downfall mid-combat, I guess.
Yeah, the thing about Huey's deck is that it has no big game ender to it. It's got a lot of value and a lot of strong cards, but it has no bomb to draw to
Right.
when you're looking at it. You know, it's just, I think his biggest bomb is